Hey, welcome into the Shopfix channel, a community joined together for the love of woodworking. So I recently picked up this new workbench from Harbor Freight, and it was only $200. It's 60 inches, made out of hardwood, and it comes with 3 drawers and a bench vise. And so I had to pull the trigger on it. It was just too good of a deal not to, I feel like. And in this video, we're gonna go ahead and unbox this, see what it looks like, and see what it takes to assemble this in case you want to get this for your workshop. Stick around.
Shopfix. It's for the love of woodworking.
I can say that right off the bat, this workbench is packed really nicely in this box. We got plywood pieces on the ends of the boxes with styrofoam all around.
Alright, so after completely unboxing this workbench, these are all the components that you get within this package for $200. In the next portion of this video, I'll be sharing a step-by-step guide on how to build this workbench, so you can definitely stick around for that, or skip to the end where I review this workbench and share some of the features.
Alright, so the first step to assemble the workbench is to connect sides 1 and 3 with crossbeam number 5. And then just make sure that your drawers are going the same direction, so they both go out like that. To speed up assembly, instead of using the hex key that is provided, you can just chuck in a hex key and so you can drill them in. That's what I'll be doing. Alright, so now we have legs 1 and 3 connected together with this number 5 crossbeam, and it has a dado slot in here, and that's for the bottom panel. So we're going to slide in the bottom panel right into that dado on number 5.
If you have a lot of trouble sliding in the bottom panel into that dado, you may need to loosen the bolts that hold that crossbeam against those legs. Once you get the shelf snug in that dado, then you'll want to put on the crossbeam on the other side, which also has a dado, and then thread the bolts in to get it held up, so then you can tighten the bolt in place.
Alright, so I've set the base of the workbench to the side, and we have the tabletop of the workbench here, and it's flipped to the bottom side, and we need to take number 8 here and mount it in the middle of this workbench for the next step. So we have to place these dowel pins in these holes, and we're going to want to make sure that these sliders are sliding out towards the front of the workbench. And so we want the vise to be at the front, so that would mean that the sliders would need to have to slide out this way. So just like that. Alright, now we'll take our wood screws and mount piece 8 to the bottom of the tabletop, now that we have it positioned correctly. Alright, so now that we have number 8 installed properly in the middle of this workbench, and we know that these sliders are coming out at the front of the workbench, then we're going to go ahead and take the base of the workbench and flip it over, and we're going to set it on top of these cross beams, and that's what we're going to screw it into.
When placing the base of the workbench onto the top of the workbench, make sure that all the sliders are sliding in the same exact direction so all your drawers match up.
To get these holes to line up exactly, I had to clamp these and kind of pull them a little bit, not too much, just a tiny bit, to get the pilot holes of this board aligned to the pilot holes of this board. The next step is to take number 7, which is the crossbeam, and attach it with these wood screws on the underside here. Okay, so with all those steps taken, it'll be time to flip this workbench upright. So in the next step, we need to remove this screw and this washer from the vise. Okay, so with the holes facing up, you'll install the vise with that washer off right into the 3 holes.
After you screw this vise into place, you'll want to replace the washer and the screw, and that'll hold the vise in place on the tabletop.
All right, the next step for the assembly is to attach the drawer handles to the number 9 drawer fronts. And it includes bolts to do that with. Okay, so now we're on to one of the last steps, which is assembling the drawers. So we have our number 9 front panels, and then we also have the side panels, and the right side of the drawer is 12, at least on my numbers, and the, let's see, it would be the left side of the drawer are 11s. And so you simply can double check that by seeing where the bracket ends, and you want the bracket to end facing outward and the dado facing the bottom. So that's how I figured that out. And then we're just going to be taking these wood screws that are provided and installing them and making a drawer real quick. To install the drawer, you want to make sure that the innermost sliding part with the ball bearings is all the way on the outer edge. And then I found it a lot easier just to clamp those in place so that they don't move when you install them. That worked really well. So, clamping the ball bearing in place. Just with enough pressure to hold it in place. Okay, now next one. Okay, that should do the trick. And then we'll take our drawer and guide it in. Alright, so this is the final assembled product, and I think it's looking sweet. I would definitely give it like a 9 out of 10 on looks. It definitely looks good. So most of the material is this kind of composite wood, and inside the drawers here there is laminated MDF. So this is the composite material, but the drawer bottom and the drawer sides are MDF. So it's kind of like a laminated MDF. And so it was just kind of a thing I noticed and wanted to let you know. That's kind of how the drawers are assembled. There are no other pieces that are MDF except for the inside components of the drawers and the pieces that the rails sit on the side. And so that kind of sums up the materials that are used. Another thing I would say is the sheer size of this workbench, 60 inches, and it has a shelf, 3 drawers for $200. I think the biggest pro of this workbench is obviously the price point. I mean, for $200, you're getting every feature of a really, really nice workbench for a fraction of the cost. So you can clamp wood really well on this workbench. The vise, I mean, it works just like a regular heavy-duty vise, and the workbench top serves its purpose. There is some cons that I already know right off the bat, and one has to do with the assembly. Some of the parts of the assembly weren't just straightforward. I had to use some tools in the shop and use some of my knowledge of woodworking prior to build this. Now, here's one of the other cons. It looks like the tabletop might be that thick, the thickness of this outside board. However, it's not. It's about an inch. And so this is just a trim piece that goes all the way around. It's not actually the thickness of the tabletop. It's more like an inch. And so that could be a con if you're thinking, oh wow, this has a nice thick, piece of lumber on top. It is sturdy, but it's not that thick. So that's something to keep in mind. For $200, I can't recommend this workbench enough. If you enjoyed this product review, don't forget to smash that like button. That really helps me out a lot. And I wish you the best of luck with your future woodworking projects, whatever that may be. I know I have a few coming up that I'm excited about, and I got this new workbench, so it should make it a lot easier. Take care.